In our last series, we had Anthony Turner attend the studio. Anthony talked to us about the 5 pillars for success, and today he's returning to the studio to give us greater details on each of the pillars.
Thanks, David. Today I'm going to be talking about customer-focused marketing, which is all around our pillar number 4, which is tell the world. And it is absolutely about customer-focused marketing. You know, the reality is that over the last 5 years particularly, the whole marketing framework has changed. The model that used to be used effectively for all marketing is broken. And whilst the fundamentals of the strategy and how you think about marketing strategically hasn't changed a great deal, the tactics of how you implement those things have. Now, typically the old marketing model used to be very much around broadcasting. It was called push marketing, and what it was basically saying is that, if I've got enough of these slide advances, then what I can do is I can go to the market. If I shout this out enough places, enough times, and frequent, and in enough different places, some people are going to buy this. Now, there is a problem with this sort of marketing, and that is that every day, most of you, whether you're listeners or viewers of this video, you will be hit with about 3,500 to 5,000 advertising messages every single day. And if you don't believe me, think about this scenario. You get up in the morning, you go to the bathroom, and you come down for your breakfast, you open up the pantry doors, and what are you hit with? Advertising messages. It's called packaging labels. Whilst you're having a brekkie, you might be listening to the radio, listening or watching TV, or flicking through a newspaper. Each of those saturated with advertising. You haven't even left the house yet, and you've probably seen 300 or 400 or been exposed to 300 or 400 different advertising messages. And so the day progresses. Now, there's no reason then to doubt the fact that most of us switch off. We've had enough. It takes something special to cut through, which is of interest to us, which has led us into what is the new form of marketing, which is called pull marketing or engagement marketing. This is where we get to understand our customers. What are their needs? What are their lives like? So we can actually engage with them in the spaces of where they go to help them with solutions that they are looking to get answers to. Now, in an overall sense, it's true to say that today our customers are a lot more informed. You are a lot more informed. You've got much greater choice than you've ever had. Likely you are more discerning than you have ever been. And that's because you are informed. You can pick out what you think is good value to you and what is not. And therefore, you will discern the ones that are going to help you versus the ones that are not. And the other thing that's happened is because the bar keeps getting raised, we've got much higher minimum expectations. I look at, and this sounds like a bit of a cliche, but I look at, say, 30, 40 years ago, young people who were getting into their first homes had less high expectations about whether they would have all the big TVs and all of the electronics and all the different things in their houses or the big palatial homes, whereas today it's almost an expected standard. Now, why marketing is not working? There's a few different reasons, and here's a couple of them. One of the key things most people don't understand in their business is that 60% of satisfied customers, these are people who've been into your business, they've actually purchased something through you, they've actually walked away out of there, and they're quite satisfied with the transaction that they've dealt with, but they never come back. And the most predominant reason why they don't come back to your business, and it's for some 70% of customers, is because they do not feel valued. Which begs the question, how can you make your customers feel valued? And there's a number of different ways you can do that, and we'll come back to that in a moment. The other thing that's really interesting is that in the absence of value, people make comparisons about businesses. And if they don't see differences between your business and the people's business next door, particularly if you're selling the same stuff, they are going to choose price as the main reason to buy from you versus the business next door. And the danger in that is, very simply, is that selling on price is a race to the bottom. It's a race to the bottom for your business because it reduces your profits, it reduces the potential for success for your business. So how do you break out of this cycle? Oh, and the other thing interesting, word of mouth. You know, 60% of buyers believe word of mouth, whereas only about 30%. In fact, in Australia, it's around about 80% of people believe word of mouth, and it's down to about 20% of people who believe advertising. Yet oftentimes one of the first things we do when we're looking to get more customers is we go and advertise rather than engaging people in the space they're in to generate word of mouth. So how do you go about communicating your offer? Well, there's a few different ways, but one of the key things is to understand your customer. You know, by understanding your customer, what I mean is that first thing is you're going to have to do some research. You're going to have to understand who and think about who is your ideal customer, because in reality, there are three groups of people out there in your marketplace. There's about 20% of the marketplace who are going to actually really love what you do and will support you no matter what. Conversely, there's another 20% at the other end of the spectrum who just don't get it, what you do. They're never going to like you, and some of them will hate you and some of them will talk bad things about you. The other 60% in the middle don't care, one way or the other. They're just not interested. They will buy if necessary, but typically they won't bother. Sadly, however, most business owners think they've got to become evangelists. They've got to go out there and convert that 60% who don't care or the 20% who hate them into people who love them. My recommendation to you is to actually spend all your time understanding who those customers are that you would most like to have, then work out how you connect to those customers over time and the various elements. So that could be things like, you know, the signage, how your shop looks, you know, or your business premise looks. It could be the signs on your car. It could be the uniform that, you know, that you wear or don't wear. It could be, you know, your business cards. It's your website. It's online. It's all of the different touch points where people can see your business. And you've got to make sure that those key ones, the ones that you use, are relevant to your customers and where they might go for that information. Now, once you're in that space, you've got to think about how you're going to communicate your offer. Now, most of you would have seen the little line ads in trade directories in the back of local newspapers. And if you see those, you know, I'm going to just do one here which is based on a massage therapist business. And typically you'll see something like Mary Smith Massage Therapist for back pain relief, call 1234. Now, what does that say to you? That's talking about Mary. Okay, what about if you compared that to, for back pain relief, call Mary Smith Massage Therapist? See, all of a sudden what's happened is the emphasis has gone away from the seller to the buyer, the customer, the person that you are looking to attract. Just purely by the use of exactly the same words, but in a different order. Now, in terms of your business, you know, it's very important to understand what are the hot buttons, the things that, you know, are really, really important to your customers. I remember doing an interview with somebody recently, and we were talking about a plumber. And, you know, a lot of people who engage tradespeople, they recognise that they typically don't turn up on time, or they, you know, leave mess all over the house. So instead of saying, hey, I'm a plumber or I'm an electrician and this is what I do, you know, what if you said, you know, we turn up on time and we leave your place as clean as when we arrived? Would that help you get more customers? You know, I don't know the answer, but if you're a tradesperson, it may be worthwhile experimenting with. In today's video, I just want to wrap up with what I believe is the absolute number one marketing tool for every single business, and that is customer service. You know, I remember some time ago, I was talking about tradespeople before. I was literally ringing up for a tradesperson to come to my house, and I found something in a local directory. I dialed the number, and I get a lady on the other end of the phone and says, hello. And I said, oh, is that XYZ? And she said, yeah, just hang on a second, will you, Dale? And then I hear yelling out in the background, will you kids shut up? I'm on the phone. You know, I wasn't there when she came back to the phone. And the reason I wasn't there is because that's not a business that I particularly felt that I wanted to deal with. Someone who wasn't treating the business seriously and somebody who wasn't aware of the impact of little things on customers. I didn't have confidence that the business would be able to deliver what I needed. And you've got to think about customer service is actually every single aspect of communication between your business and your customer. it's about, when you walk in the shop, and we can all relate to the fact of, you walk into a shop, the assistant's sitting there playing on the iPhone. They're texting or they're looking at Facebook, and they look up at you as if to say, you're an intrusion to my time. That's not good customer service. Good customer service is actually greeting the customer, very quickly when they arrive in the shop, to acknowledge that they're there. The other thing is a good strategy for preventing shoplifting if you've got a shop, because if the people know that you've seen them, they're less likely to steal something. Other things about customer service is actually how you handle the transaction. How do you help the person in their buying decision? When do you actually leave them alone? And I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it. There are plenty of experts out there who teach good customer service. I would suggest you engage one of those to understand and get them to have a look at your business, see where things are going right and see where things are going wrong, and get those things fixed. But think about the whole process of a customer. Typically there is an engagement aspect where the customer walks through the door. The first thing about customer service is, does your business look appealing to come into? The second part is, how are you greeted? The third person is, how are you treated in the buying process? The next part of it is, how do you treat them when you're actually taking their money? Do you have follow-up service? Do you invite them to become part of a loyalty program? How do you build that relationship with the customer? Then there's the section where most people stop and do nothing, but the smart businesses get a lot more business as a result, and that is the after-sales service. How do you follow up with your customer to make sure that everything was okay? Do you have a warranty? So that if something's wrong, they've got the satisfaction to know that they can bring it back and there's going to be some sort of remedy that you're going to do joyfully. Now, one little trap about customer service is that as a business owner, typically you have the passion for your business. You will do your customer service really, really well. Can you say the same about your staff? You may believe that they're doing it well, but the truth is, I would recommend that, or suggest that quite often they're not doing as well as you, and they don't have the same interests, and that's understandable, but are they doing it to the standard? Get somebody who they don't know to go in and do some mystery shopping in your business, or do a telephone call to find out what's actually happened in your business, to see how you're being treated, how your customers are being treated, and then you can train them and develop them to make sure that they get a consistent message. That's all about marketing for today. Next time we'll come back and talk about how you manage for success.